Hi, I'm Camilla, and I'm going to show you how to inoculate logs with shiitake mushroom today. We're here at Well House, and we are inoculating these oak logs that we got from a retirement community here in town that was cutting down some logs. We're going to inoculate these with some shiitake mushroom. So a couple of things to know. Shiitake are a woody mushroom species, and they're saprophytic, and that means that they break down wood, trees, into components that are more edible for other plants and make the soil more nutrient rich. So, and most wood species mushrooms are medicinal, and that's because they break down the sugars in the tree and form them into polysaccharides, which are really essential for our human protein functions. Alright, so it's important to have your mushroom spawn ready when you're ready to inoculate. So here I have some spawn that was purchased from Field and Forest. This is a company in Wisconsin, and they produce several types of mushroom spawn. So in this bag I have the sawdust spawn. So these white parts in here is the mycelium of the mushroom, and this is inoculated, and basically what we're doing is we're expanding the substrate. So the mycelium was inoculated onto the sawdust, and it sort of ate that, and that's why it's white throughout. And then we're going to take this and inoculate the log, and that gives it more food to eat and expands the capacity to fruit mushrooms. Now these are the dowel spawn. This is a more common version of inoculating because they come in it's already in the depth that you need to drill into the log, and it's an easy plug-in. So those are really nice for easy to do inoculation. The benefit of doing sawdust, however, is that it's more surface area. There's more surface area, so that those are more access points for the mycelium to spread. So using sawdust or dowel is just a preference, but if you want a faster mycelium run, which just means a colonization of the log, you could use sawdust spawn. Okay, so the tools you'll need to inoculate your log are pretty simple, pretty basic. Things you might have around the house already. A paintbrush, a hammer, we have our drill over here, and I would say it's safe to say to keep some hydrogen peroxide around if you felt like cleaning your hands off if you haven't already. Just kind of sterilizes your hands for handling the spawn. And then we need beeswax. So you can use other kinds of food grade waxes like soy wax or cheese wax, but I prefer using beeswax just because it already has an antibacterial property, and it's just more natural to me. So, alright, so as I said before, we got our logs here for Well House from a local retirement community that was already chopping down some oak trees. This was really fabulous because oak trees are what shiitakes prefer to grow on. Originally in China, shiitake grew on a tree called the shi tree, hence the name shiitake, take meaning fruit. So the shi tree is a relative of the beech and oak trees that we have here, and shiitake naturally grew in temperate forests. So this is really ideal wood for the mushrooms. So here's one log that we cut. We cut it down. We were given these 9-foot sections, and we just cut them down into about 3-foot long stumps. And 3 foot is really nice. It's just like a sort of a general, standard size that shiitake logs are grown on because, it allows you to manage it more easily, I think. So what you need to look for in a log, besides looking for hardwood, so other than oak logs, you can use beech, as I mentioned before, maple, elm, or cottonwood. Those are all good varieties of trees to use for the shiitakes. So 3-foot sections are manageable. You can carry them. These hardwood logs are pretty dense and heavy. You want to look for the bark intact. That's really important because, this whole thing on the side of the log, this is a vulnerable space for more shiitake, or for more other competitor fungus to inhabit the log. So you'll see eventually we're going to seal that off with wax. But that's why it's important to have your bark intact. It seals in and protects the mycelium in there. So then what we want to think about is when to cut our logs. So, it's May here. We're getting close to the end of our threat for frost, and So that's why we're starting to inoculate now. So you want to cut your logs in the spring when the sugar content is high. You can also do that in the fall, and you can inoculate in the fall as well, but spring and fall are where the sugar is high, and that just provides more food for the mushrooms. So then what we're going to do when we drill, this is just kind of getting maybe a little ahead, but we drill in sort of diagonal sections. So this would be one starting point, and you go 3 to 4, 5 inches away, and you will do your next one, and you can do that down the line. And then you're going to stagger them. Now this is only for the benefit of giving an even mycelium run colonization throughout the log. I think that's it.
Whenever you're ready.
All right. So now we're going to put our holes into the log. 5/16 drill bit is really nice because it's the size of a dowel plug. And you want to go about as deep as this plug is long. So there's that. So we'll just kind of follow that. I drilled one here earlier, so that's my starting point, and I'm going about this far away. Oop. I might be in reverse here. So I'm just kind of feeling it and where it was on the drill here. So. One more this way. And then what it would look like staggered is you could go about 10 inches over actually. So I might go here, my other 2 holes are here. I'd go about here. It's nice to reverse out of there just to get some of the pulp out. So our drill bit today isn't exactly the size, so I won't show you a dowel spawn, but what you would do is you would just kind of notch it up to there and take a hammer and just sort of bang it right in there. So that's what it looked like. And then you would get it flush to the log, and then with the sawdust spawn, I have it started here, you would just kind of push it in there with your fingers best you can and take either a pen or paintbrush, if you will. Just push it on in, because you want the sawdust spawn to be flush and compact, just like the dowel spawn would be in the hole. Alright, so we've drilled our hole and we've packed it with our sawdust spawn. So what you'll do next is you'll just dip it into your melted beeswax on your paintbrush. You'll bring it on over, and you're going to seal the hole up. So now that we've sealed it up, just means that we've sort of decreased the competition to get into those vulnerable sites that we've just created in the log. All right, so now that we have our log inoculated, we'll take it over and we'll just keep it in a shady sort of spot that maybe holds in some moisture. And we can just lean it up against a fence, a garage, anywhere that will just be mostly shade. I mean, if it gets dappled sun or a little bit of sun, it will be okay, but you can just prop it up like that. Just keeps airflow going to it, and in the really dry times of the summer, you might want to sprinkle it with some water once or twice a week, just depending on how hot it is. Because if the log dries up, the mycelium dries up, and you won't get any mushrooms. Alright, so once your log is inoculated, it takes up to 12 months for the mycelium to colonize the log. 6 to 12 months. So you'll just let it go throughout the season. So you start in the spring, let's say, and you'll, in the fall, check on your logs. Maybe you've watered it a couple times throughout the summer. And there are certain ways you can get it to fruit. So let's say it's had 8 months. This is a really old technique that, back in China they started doing this. They found that if you knock on the log with a hammer or something just on one of the ends, that sort of shocks the mycelium into fruiting. Sort of gives it the impression that the tree has fallen, and it sort of says, oh, we better fruit. Or you can soak it in cold water for 24 hours, and once you take it out and set it in your shady spot again, that sort of initiates a fruiting as well. Sort of letting it know that the rains are coming, it's time to send out fruit. And then you can harvest. So you'll harvest, after you maybe initiate it into fruiting, you can harvest, maybe you'll get a couple harvests before the winter, so you can harvest a couple weeks after you initiate it, and then maybe a couple weeks after that you'll have another flush, is what they're called, and you'll get another crop. And then for overwintering it, you just want to store it in a place where it's not going to get a hard frost. So even against the garage, you know, over the awnings there on the side of the house is good, or in a garage. Alright, so now you have your mushrooms. What do you do? Well, you can prepare them as a stir fry, you can roast them on the grill, you can roast them in the oven. There's all kinds of ways you can prepare your mushrooms. Basically, you can prepare them in any way that you might prepare meat. And that's cool because shiitakes are especially high in protein. They're very comparable to that of beef, chicken, and pork. And as mentioned before, they also have medicinal properties, and one in particular is they have a component called lentinin, and that's an anti-cancer property. And what it does is it boosts your immune system, so it sort of stimulates this hormone that says, hey, produce your killer T cells or your white cells, like let's amp that up, you know. And so the body will produce more of those, and that just sort of boosts your immune system against disease. So I think there's sometimes a misconception that an anti-cancer, it means it attacks cancer, but that's not the case. It just boosts your immune system to prevent it. And it's also high in fiber, and it also is high in iron, and that helps increase oxygen circulation in the blood. So mushrooms are cool. They're really great, and really good for you.